Another day, more lies from President Trump as he attacks 3 appeals court judges who are considering the case of his Muslim travel ban. He blasted them yesterday, saying that the actions of multiple federal judges is political. And he also even called this case disgraceful that it is being pursued by Washington State in federal court. Here's him speaking yesterday to the Sheriff's Group in D.C.
I don't ever want to call a court biased, so I won't call it biased. And we haven't had a decision yet. But courts seem to be so political. I was a good student. I understand things. I comprehend very well, okay? Better than, I think, almost anybody. And I want to tell you, I listened to a bunch of stuff last night on television that was disgraceful.
Well, and what sounded like an attempt to go after these judges, Trump said a decision against him would deny Americans security. He tweeted, "If the U.S. does not win this case, as it is so obviously should, we can never have the security and safety to which we are entitled. Politics." He also tweeted, "Big increase in traffic into our country from certain areas, while our people are far more vulnerable as we wait for what should be easy D." And as you recall, last week, Trump blasted federal judge James Robart, who halted the Muslim travel ban, calling him, quote, a so-called judge. These attacks on the judiciary have, of course, critics reeling. In fact, his own Supreme Court nominee, Neil Gorsuch, yesterday criticized his comments. He was meeting with senators, and what he said is that he called the attacks demoralizing and disheartening. Also, in a new revelation, Trump claimed yesterday that he wanted to give travelers a month's notice before he issued his travel ban, but it resulted in chaos across the country. But according to Trump, his advisors said no.
We did things right, but the law enforcement people said to me, "Oh, you can't give a notice, because if you give a notice, you're going to be really tough in 1 month from now, or in 1 week from now." I suggested a month, then I said, "Well, what about a week?" They said, "No, you can't do that, because then people are going to pour in before the toughness goes on."
Now, that's interesting, because that's new, because before all we kept heard is, oh, no, absolutely no notice. All right, let's go to our panel here, and let's start with Scott Bolden. Scott, to have a president of the United States attack the federal judiciary in the way he has. Let's not forget the federal judge he attacked during the campaign, slamming his Latino background. This is an unstable president who will trash anyone who disagrees with him, but to trash the federal judiciary the way he has is simply an abomination.
While the case is pending, by the way, Monique, but while the case is pending, let me just say this. You know, we've had presidents, and including Barack Obama, who have criticized judicial decisions, but not personal attacks. It's unnecessary and it's inappropriate. And I'm sorry, Donald Trump, this was an apolitical discussion you heard, an incredible oral debate you heard for the Ninth Circuit by phone that was broadcast to millions, and it was rooted in the Establishment Clause, whether there's a rational basis for impinging on the rights of others, whether they're green card holders or others are coming to this country. You don't have unfettered discretion to issue an executive order, even if it's statutory, if it doesn't have a rational basis for impugning or infringing on those rights. This was really sophisticated legal stuff, and I'm not surprised that Donald Trump simply didn't get it, didn't understand it, but it certainly wasn't a political discussion.
Parrish, to have a president attacking federal judges. He attacked a federal judge during the campaign with a Latino background. He's attacking these judges as political. Several of them are Bush appointees.
What's your point, Roland?
Oh,
I mean, I don't.
Have you not been listening to the conversation, Parrish? What's my point? To have a president of the United States attacking federal judges for making a decision, calling a hearing disgraceful, saying that it's political, and then to have your own Supreme Court nominee, who many call Justice Antonin Scalia 2.0, called demoralizing. Don't you think a president of the United States should be acting in a different manner as opposed to attacking federal judges. Do you believe the behavior of President Donald Trump is appropriate?
I wouldn't categorize what he's doing as attacking these judges. I think he is expressing his opinion because he views some of these judges to be making decisions that are political. We know that there are activist judges. We know that there are judges that are influenced by political by politics, and I think that is what the president is referring to. Now, with respect to the Supreme Court nominee, I think he is well within his right to point out the fact, in his opinion, that it is not, that he called it demoralizing or whatever, because he is a judge, and so he understands how this would feel if he was on the receiving end of it. And there are separations.
But Paris, don't you think that the President of the United States might want to listen to his own Supreme Court nominee when it comes to attacking judges? I mean, this is the President of the United States. This is a man who will be appointing federal judges, and to say, oh well, because they disagree with something that I've done, oh, it's political.
Well, I think
really
there were a lot of people on both sides of the aisle and in the federal in the judiciary who felt that President Obama, the remarks that he made at the Supreme Court were inappropriate.
The remarks that he made, President Trump.
And I'm talking about President Obama. And in the same regard the comments that he made during the State of the Union.
Did President Obama, did President Obama at the State of the Union, did he look at those Supreme Court justices and did he say disgraceful? Did he say shameful? Did he attack the heritage of any one of those federal judges like Trump has? Yes or no?
He did not use those words, but what he did do, some felt was inappropriate. And the point I'm making is presidents do opine about the judiciary from time to time. And this president is no different. But the difference is the method by which he does it. But you are correct to say that he should.
Yes, some are proper, some are uncouth. Donald Trump is in the category of being uncouth. Monique.
In your opinion.
Right, but here's the thing. We really do have to stop expecting that President Trump has any sophisticated manner of conversation or communication, or that he even has a full enough command of the English language to be able to criticize a federal judge or a state judge or a senator or anyone else for that matter without allowing it to be driven by his emotions of the moment. So if it hurts, he says, oh, sad, disgraceful, unfair. We're dealing with a juvenile level of communication. Fortunately, there are 3 separate branches of government, and the nominee, who I don't agree with many of the decisions that have been made by the next nominee for the Supreme Court. But what he was signaling is these things that are being said out loud can be intimidation to a judge who's on the bench, as Scott just said, to 3 judges that have a pending decision. Right. They're tooling it over. Their research assistants and their law clerks are listening to the President of the United States calling the entire exchange disgraceful, and that's a problem. But what I like about it, frankly, Roland, is that instead of it being a real good old boy network where the president gets somebody to call somebody and try to get to the judge and say it's disgraceful, this president doesn't even seem to have the wherewithal to do that. He comes right out front and tells everybody what he thinks about it, so his base gets influenced by it, but so do we who still are living in a rational, sane world, and we can offer support to the judiciary by supporting their decision and making our voices known in the streets, and that's exactly what's happening with the movement right now.
But Roland, there's one other thing real quick. There's one other thing real quick.
1 second. Scott, hold on. I got to get Amber in, then I'm going to round of final comments before I go to the next topic. So Amber, go ahead.
Listen, I don't know anything that's more political than painting a group of people as dangerous, writing tweets about them, and then literally turning it into policy that same week to ban Muslim people from being safe in this country, from coming to this country. These are people with families. And additionally, Donald Trump is, again, just insinuating a lot here. He is targeting people, and it's going to make it even more dangerous for people who are living in this country. And And the additional point I just want to make is, if we think it stops with Muslim people, we are mistaken. Exactly. And we all need to be paying attention now, because Donald Trump, like Hitler, is trying to get rid of dissent, which is dangerous. You're telling me everyone is lying, everyone is wrong, from the judges to CNN to BuzzFeed to Sally Yates? That's a problem. We need to look alive, or else it's going to be a dangerous time for all of us in this country.
Final comment, Scott, then Paris.
Yeah, Roland, real quick. This is how illogical his criticism of the Ninth Circuit debate was that was broadcast to the U.S. There's a case pending. How do you criticize judges who merely ask several questions during a debate? It's illogical to impugn them or to attack them or to call them political when for an hour or more all they did was ask questions. That borders on the nonsensical that he would criticize them at all, especially when there's been no decision made. There'll be a decision, and I can tell you, judges are human beings, and they're listening to Donald Trump's criticisms.
Paris, final comment.
The president has every right to criticize whom he wants to criticize.
He can criticize the decision, but
he
not
also
them
needs to
personally.
deal with the consequences of those criticisms.
That's just wrong.
Which is the loss of American lives.
All right. Y'all can continue to have that conversation during the break. I got to go to a break.
Kickstart your day at 7 and get the news you need from the perspective you want. NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Every weekday morning at 7 on TV1.